Hey, what is up, everyone? It is Rich. All right, welcome to the continuation of our exploration of video game art of books. So, this is Art of Alice Madness Returns, American McGee. This book is awesome. I'm going to tell you up front, like, this is one of my favorite art of video game books. It's got great designs, it's got beautiful colors, it's very creative, and I liked it so much. I actually even had sent it to Kelsey several months ago when he was working on one of his sort of creator own ideas, and I saw some of the art that he was doing, and I was like, man, I'm like, you definitely need to check out this book. So anyway, we're gonna get right into it. It is fantastic, though. I'm telling you. I'll show you the cover of the book really quick. So this is the cover of the book, The Art of Alice Madness Returns. There's, I think, two games from the series. I mentioned in passing in one of the earlier videos that I did this week that I picked it up one time just at the game store. I saw it and went like, this looks really cool. Bought it, played the first game. I have not played that Madness Returns. It looks honestly better than the first one. Many years went by between the two titles, but we've seen this. Yeah, thank you for all the recommendations and stuff like that. So let's give a little love to the creators of the art because they're all fantastic. So you can take a peek at this. I won't try to read all these names. I will completely butcher them. American McGee is easy to pronounce. So anyway, all right. If you're going like, I'm not in Alice in Wonderland, this is kid stuff. Just hold on. Wait till we get into this. I try to avoid some of the more intro-y pages, but just in case anyone wants to read this stuff, you can read it. American McGee had a pretty interesting life too. It's I've read a little bit about him online, and there's a lot of stories here. This is really cool. The gears on this. It's like dripping sort of sap or something from the mushroom. Maybe it's oil. Could be oil. Looks a little like oil. Clean oil. Alright, let me get the house. But yeah, they take the concept of Alice in Wonderland and really turn it on its head, which it's already a completely bizarre thing to begin with. But, oh man, it's so good. Pre-production. So this game started to be made in 2008. I'm going to say that I got the original one maybe in 2001 or around then. That sounds about right. Maybe 2003. And this book came out, looks like in 2012, so it's been out for a while. All right, so let's go into full screen mode and check out this art. And what's interesting too is, I mean, this actually looks like pencils, which now is like almost unheard of that you would see pencil design sketches, like a lot of them. You know what I mean? Most of the stuff that we look at is a little digital coloring. But yeah, I mean, a lot of these look like they might have been stripped right out of someone's notebook, which is super cool. I know people love sketches, so. And I'll tell you, these teams spend a lot of time and do a lot of drawings. Man, these little like value studies are great. They're so cool looking. But it's a lot of work, Too much for one person. Oh, that's really neat. I talk a lot about comics on my channel for people to know. Well, let's go backwards so I don't have to keep going in and out of thing. Here's the people that created the art. Check my phone really quick. I've got a friend coming over, and I just want to make sure it's not him texting me. But yeah, when you've got a team of people and they work for 2 years, they can create a lot of art. Whereas most comic book artists, it's you're one person. You may have an inker or a colorist, but just to do the sheer amount of drawing that. Oh look, Joy Ang from Udon. That's cool. This is like a little bonus piece, unless she worked on the book, but that's really cool. This piece is Ken Wong. I like that they're crediting the artist on the pieces. Louis Mello. It's always nice to see. So some looks like inspiration. It's good to create inspiration boards. I just wouldn't go overboard with it. I think that some people can get stuck at the starting line preparing to never do a project, whether it's a comic book, video game, or even just one drawing. You know, you spend all this time getting like the color reference and the theme, and you know, you've just put all this effort into previs, and then you never do the piece or you never do the project. So you gotta balance it. You know, momentum is tremendously important in creating things, and you know, I was trying to be like somewhat inspirational in my videos to some degree. It's kind of like my thing. It's a real thing though. I mean, I really genuinely want people to succeed and be able to do things that they dream about. But you know, honestly, I thought about this yesterday and I was looking at a musician, but you know, that saying of better to have something finished than have it perfect really is true, because you know, as someone looking at art, I'm not really looking for perfection. I'm just looking for creativity, and it's the body of work that really ultimately ends up being interesting. It's not like I'm not going to not psychoanalyze. I'm not going to analyze that like the eye on this doll is like not exactly how I would have wanted it or something like that, where an artist may. And so you kind of have to, deadlines can ultimately be really beneficial to people that are creative, and without deadlines, I think that you can definitely drift. You can not complete things, and that pressure immediately makes you work. And I've tested the theory even on my own self, because I've worked as a professional artist for a long time, and you know, I definitely, you know, I don't need a deadline to work, though. That's the difference between me and some of my peers. I've worked with people where they really won't work on something until the deadline starts to really, like, crawl up, you know, crawl upon them. And then they work in kind of a panic mode. I'm kind of the opposite. Like, I don't like that feeling, so I prefer to get stuff done early. Not a lot early, but you know what I mean? If something's due on the 20th, I'd like to have it done by, like, the 17th. Or earlier, you know what I mean? I'm just like, in comics, you don't have a lot of time. You have like 4 weeks to do a book. 3 days might not sound like much if you're like 3 days. Come on, it's like, what's the difference? That's a big difference in comics. Caterpillar is awesome. I actually have a bunch of these toys in my office. Funny enough, not from this game, but from the first one. But I have the Caterpillar, I have the White Rabbit, I have Alice, and I think one other one. They're really really cool. They some of them are kind of expensive now. I mean, not that you know you would want to get them just based on this video, but yeah, they're old. I mean, they've had them for probably 15 years at least. This is nice. The art style really actually does capture, like, the inking on this really does actually look like some old kind of book illustration stuff. It's really nice. Some storyboard ideas. This reminds me of, God, what was that game called? It's a side scroller where you play like a weird like stuffed like little toy. My friend's wife was really into it. I ended up buying it. I can't think of what it's called. Had like a lot of expansion capabilities. Like people would create their own like levels to it and stuff like that. God, what was it called? That I won't remember. I won't remember the name of it. I didn't play it enough to like have it in my long-term memory. If you like this kind of pen and ink art, there's an artist named Jeremy Bastian who does. Well, he did a book called Cursed Pirate Girl. I think he's still actually working on new issues of it. But Jeremy Bastian is great and does very very detailed like pen and ink stuff that kind of has this vibe. It's very I don't know if retro would be the right word, but kind of classic illustrated type thing. Guys, looks just like that game. It's so funny. These are really cool. Oh man, this is great. That's cool. I like that ship. These would make great little stickers. So this is Renato Facchini. His talent is overwhelming. Like Avi, our art producer, once said, he raised the bar for all of us. Yeah, I mean, that's a really, really powerful team concept that happens. If you work in a studio with other artists, or if you're on a sports team, whatever it is, even a band, and you have one phenomenal musician, artist, or athlete, it does raise the bar for everyone. And in fact, I mean, you can really feed off that energy. The studio that I came up through, Wildstorm, is really a great example of it, because most of the people that came up through Wildstorm ended up being really, really great artists, and all actually created fairly original styles for themselves, which is unusual in comics. If you look at some of the other comic studios, there was more of a homogenous sort of thing that happened where you had like a house style. With Wildstorm, it really wasn't like that. And comic book fans will know what I'm talking about, but I mean, you can go down the list and picture each of the most successful artists, and they all were quite different. So it's kind of cool. Environment and how you come up really does have an impact. This is cool. I like the colors on this. So this is reminding me of way back when I first got on the internet, and there were two artists that I liked in particular that were kind of doing a new sort of thing at the time, which was Kevin Llewellyn, who went by Puddinhead, and then Michael Husser. I'm not sure how he says his last name, but they kind of were the gothic sort of, I don't know what you call it, like gothic concept painters. There was probably others, but they definitely had a very kind of, there was another guy named Cameron something. Cameron came a little bit later than those guys. I think he was probably influenced by Kevin Puddinhead. But oh man, I love that shit. It was so cool. This is really neat. I like this a lot. My Photoshop is struggling a little bit because I have so many files open, so it's a little slow. But each one I shut is making it go a little quicker. This is really cool. That's really neat. Again, you don't have to, when you see something like this, you may only get a couple of little ideas from it. But my theory has always been, that's cool. There's a little figure right here, on the stair. My theory with like art books is like, if I spend say $60 on an art book and I get one or two really good ideas that end up making my work better or more creative or whatever it is, I've easily made my money back on the book, because just $60, I could draw one comic book page and be paid more for that than the book cost. Or if I sell the original art, then I've made money on top of the other money. So look at, sometimes an art book purchase is you're investing in yourself and your own work. um, you know I even do that with when I buy a sketch pad. If I buy a sketch pad of 100 sheets of paper, in theory, if I draw just even a $25 or $50 drawing that I could sell on each piece of paper, I've made, if I'm doing the math right, 50 times 100, isn't that $5 grand? So you could turn a sketch pad that you spend 12 to 14 bucks on into $5 grand just at $50 a drawing. Or if you could, maybe you can only sell your drawings for 20 bucks. Nothing wrong with that. You'd still make $2,000. That's worth it. Do it, friends. I'm telling you. Jim Lee told me one time. He said, "Artists are a printing press. You can literally print money with your hands." The key is cultivating a fan base that will purchase your work. But you know, if you're consistent and you put the stuff out there, people will support it. And in particular now, I keep saying, with digital art in such a transitional period, the idea of someone sitting with a pencil, paper, pens, watercolor, colored markers has quite a charm to it. It's You're unique. So I'm trying to shut it. It's just not shutting yet. Come on, file. There we go. This book was almost 200 pages, and I tried to open all 200, which in Photoshop is like kind of a logistical nightmare, but I'm greedy like that. Oh, this is cool. This is almost giving me like a Mark Ryden vibe. Okay. Shut it. Shut it. Shut it. There. Ooh, look at that. This could be a comic book cover for like a Vertigo book. I'm actually surprised that oh, wow, that's neat. Wow, that is really cool. Man, I miss playing video games. I just don't have time. Oh, man, that is really cool looking. I love the colors. It's so wild. Generally, I'm not. I like. It's funny because I have like multiple opinions on color. Sometimes I'm like I don't like a lot of color, and then other times I'm like, ooh, color, pretty. Depends on the. I think it depends on the art. You know what I mean? For stuff like this, it's like you want like the sort of rainbow Skittles kind of thing going on, where it's like every color, but there's still like an atmosphere to it. I mean, these artists definitely know what they're doing. Oh man, that's cool. So creepy. Those are really cool. Hopefully he's working on another game. You know, I think that it's fun to see stuff that's so out there. Kind of has a Mark Ryden sort of not. Ryden doesn't really do pieces just like this, but that lowbrow kind of dolls and weird stuff. I shut it. I was just waiting for shut. I think there's blood on the electric chair. Thing is tearing people up. Oh wow. It's funny because I was thinking that just a second ago. Like they don't use as much curved perspective as I would have thought. Sort of like I call it like a cyclonic effect, but you know, it's sort of like where you start to turn everything, and it's almost like a drain, and how like things start to get kind of pulled down like a funnel. Because it's definitely this would be a type of title where you could pull it off. I mean, you wouldn't want to use it all the time. It's a spice in the work, you know. Oh man, that is really cool. Wow. Dude, that is such a great shot. Holy shit. This thing looks like it's levitating. I'm not sure what's going on with this gurney. But man, that is really cool. I like the colors a lot too. The kind of the beiges and that sort of bluey green thing really makes it cool. I love too the roof with the glass up here. This is really really cool. I'd love to see Blaster Kid kind of run through like an area like this. Blaster Kid is my creator-owned book that I'm working on right now with my man Kelsey Shannon and my cat. Sorry. Okay, this looks like it might have been a double-page spread. The Asylum. We're going backwards, so it's a little like we're getting the title of the chapter. Oh wow, Gottfried Helmwen. That's my friend's dad. Gottfried Helmwen is the German painter. He's so good. He doesn't really do this kind of stuff, but wow, that's really interesting. He was inspired by Gottfried. I met him. He actually looked at my art and liked it. I was freaking out. I was so nervous. He's like, it's like meeting Dracula. It's hard to explain. He's got a presence that's so freaking intimidating. If you look him up online, he looks like he could have been a rock star. He did the cover of Scorpion's Blackout. That's actually a self-portrait of him. everybody thinks it's Rudolf Schenker, but that's actually him. It was a photo, and then he painted himself and did a series of paintings like that. But he's a phenomenal fine artist, does gigantic oil paintings. But yeah, he lives in a castle in Ireland, and then he had a studio up in Los Angeles. And I went to visit his son, who I'm friends with, up in L.A., and his dad was there. And man, he walked in, and I was just like, "Fuck." He's like, it's really crazy. But yeah, he was like, "Oh, you're an artist? Let me see your stuff." I was like, "Oh no." I mentioned him in another video when we were looking at something, and it was Al Jaffe video with the Donald Duck thing. That he was really into Donald Duck as a kid after World War II, because he grew up in Germany right after World War II, and there was a lot of like stress because of what had gone on. It's cool. It's funny. There's like an innocence to early Photoshop, even though 2000. Well, this would have been 2008. It's kind of like the old days, honestly. Um, yeah, it's like cute when you see this stuff. It's like, oh man, so like so old school. But you know, it's concept art. These aren't supposed to be finished paintings and stuff like that. But now it wouldn't really be drawn as much. That's the thing is we've seen in some of the other books. Although the Division 2 book, I have to say, man, that book was insane. Um, you know, now I think that you're gonna see less drawings and more photo bashing of like AI generated things, which is kind of a shame. Then they'll paint over it. But like I said, what I've heard is that the game companies are not using it, but at some point they will, because there'll be libraries that will be accessible that won't be copyrighted material, and then once that happens, forget about it. Or that you pay for a license and everything that you would generate in AI would be like fair game to use. Like I said, it's interesting because it's like it does photo bashing for you, and then you know whatever you do with it, I guess after, like the cards in the sky. It's actually really cool. We'll see. Like I said, I'm thankful that I don't have to fight that battle as a comic book artist who does traditional art. But I love digital tools. That's the thing, you know. I always love learning about stuff. To me, it's like just one big video game, literally, like all the art tools. It's a puzzle in itself, like learning to use them. You know, your reward is you get art made with it. Man, that's really wild. They did a really nice job on the heart. Just like tripping out. It almost looks like it's like a glazed vase or something. It really is nicely painted. Those solid whites really make it look juicy. It's interesting. It's Carnage. Oh, Beksinski. Wow, cool. They got all kinds of cool influences. I've done videos on Beksinski. One of the books that I have is actually quite scarce. I had no idea that it was so rare. It might be my second most valuable book, in fact. I think the Vanya book is probably my most expensive, but the Beksinski one is actually up there for a book that didn't initially cost that much. I mean, if you buy a $200 book, it's $200 book base value, but you get what I'm saying. A normal book that was like $60 that's worth, you know, tons. Oh, that's cool. Oh, that's really cool. Looks like fun. You just go, man, I want to go check that out. We should be getting into the character designs here pretty quick. In fact, let's do this. I'm going to get out of full screen mode for a second, and we'll shut some of these. Or, well, let's go back up to the top then. Oh, that's cool. And this has got a little bit more of that twisted perspective I was talking about. Man, that's really neat. Almost looks like a Dave McKean painting. Or, who else? It's like Ted McKeever, but then with a different finish. Really cool. Okay, let's see here. We'll just keep pulling from the top now. Oh man, that's wild. Looks like they statted in some sort of, you know what, maybe not though. Feels like it has a texture over the painting a little bit, and then they sort of erased it out, but you can see pieces of what looks almost like maybe like rusted metal or something like that that they sort of peppered in. Kind of looks cool. It looks a little flat. I mean, it's the problem is like up here in particular, it's not in perspective. There's different forms that this texture is laying on, and it doesn't really move with the actual construction of this chunk of debris. So it immediately starts to flatten stuff out. That's a real problem with just putting texture on top of stuff. There's some creepy babies. Creepy baby. But again, this isn't supposed to be finished art. These are concepts, so anything kind of goes. That's cool. I've tried to do stuff like this in kind of like a Tim Burton style, like the Corpse Bride, like the family from Corpse Bride, like the kind of grayer scenes. It's not as easy to design characters in those styles as you'd think. Definitely, you really, really have to work at it to get some, like, what I would consider worthwhile results. This is really cool. I've always been a fan of Tim Burton's weirdness, so... That's neat. Yeah, really cool. Like the big drops. There's Alice. It's by Louis Mello. I wonder if he is related to Janet Mello, or someone in comics named that. I think she worked at Wildstorm. Alice is a tough character, I think. She's been drawn so much that even for me as someone who's a fan of Alice in Wonderland, I think the comics kind of have worn thin on me. Hate to say it, but it's like they're like, we don't really have any other ideas, so we're just gonna keep doing Alice in Wonderland books. Oh, haha. Those are pretty cool designs. Let's go over here. I'll go for like 10 more minutes. As long as my friend hasn't texted me yet, I'm fine. So it's kind of just once he comes, and after that, I'm going to start working. Like this pose. It's nice. Pretty cool. She looks good with the green dress, a little different. Just like powering up Green Lantern style. Steampunk kind of gun. A hammer. Let's see what we got here. Oh, that's cool. I feel like I've seen this scene in the game. This kind of has like a little bits of a Pirates of the Caribbean kind of thing. This is really cool. Oh, man, I love stuff like this. Wow, that's so cool. Really, really neat. That's a great little design. I like it. Alrighty, let's see what this is. Random pulls. Oh my god, the rain. And a little bit of warmness. Little something. Man, that is pretty cool. Are you going in? Are you gonna go in the door or are you running for it? Man, that is really, really actually pretty epic, like little moment. All these could be seeds of ideas for you. You never know. And the thing is like, what's great about, like, I think, like, the human brain is you might not even remember that you saw something like that, like the rat on this guy's face or that, you know, rainy scene that we just saw. And it may come out of you 2 years from now, you know, where you just, you have a circumstance where you need to draw or create something and you go, oh, you know what would be cool is like a rainy front of a building with a little bit of a warm glow. I mean, it's not the most like out there idea just in general, but you know what I mean? Like, and oh, this is really cool. At least, you know, you're putting some good stuff in here. This is a really beautifully designed room. They really, it's funny, they always really pull the perspective on these shots. I've noticed that in a lot of these game designs that, in comics, a lot of artists that I'll see will just keep everything kind of going more casual and don't pull the edges. Like Eric Canetti will do more of this kind of thing with his perspective, but a lot of comic book artists really don't, where the vanishing point starts to really kind of skew the room. It's interesting. But Canetti has worked in both film and games, so that could be why too, and animation. He's coming to the table with more skills and experience. Let's see what's down here. Wonderland. Right, shut that. Psychedelic trees. Oh, it's the... This guy. What is he, the snail? He's got a tree on him. It's kind of cool. It's a very psychedelic tree. London. Oh, I keep hitting the title pages. What are the odds of that? Come on, I'm pulling random things. Oh, all the different hairstyles. I mentioned this before, how important the silhouette of hair is on a character, how it really, really can change, like, the vibe, you know. It's such a personality thing, you know. Like, someone that might shave their head could have, like, mental sort of issues, in particular a girl, you know, but if her hair is well kept, then it's one thing. If it's short, maybe at one point she shaved her head. I mean, there's a lot of psychology that kind of goes into it. You may not think it, but it's kind of true. You know what I mean? Like, that looks like someone who's disturbed, in particular as a female. Now, she may not be, but I'm just saying. You know, but putting your hair in a bun looks like you put some effort into it, even if your hair is disheveled. You know, it's still like you took the time to put it up in that. Longer hair has more maintenance. Cheshire cat. Little ZBrush. his that's weird. Like, I was just gonna say, like, this one, his head is so close to his body it looks weird. Like, there's no room for it. But then here it looks quite different, even though they're all just different, I think, ideas of where it could be, like what it could, the potential for that area. Like the dock or whatever this is, butcher shop. Bloody good meats. This is pretty cool. It's funny, I don't know if you all do this, but a lot, like, I subscribe to a ton of YouTube channels, but I almost always, when I subscribe, hit the notification bell just for a bit. I figure if I'm interested enough to, like, follow them, that I want the notifications if they upload new stuff, then over time I'll sort of phase them out, but I get a lot of notifications on my phone from YouTube because of doing that. Yeah, they really credit the artists on this quite well. It's pretty cool to see. A lot of environments because of the game itself. This is a pretty cool level right here. Man, that's great. Ah, that's really cool looking. Let's try this. See what this is. Oh, more teapots. Oh, a mouse. I like that they tilted the wheel here. It's a nice touch. So it says it's a paint over based on the maps created by level designers. So that's interesting. You really can't tell. It was funny as I did a review or a lesson for someone. Just I think it was a lesson for someone, and they'd been drawing over 3D models just as like a foundation for their figures and stuff like that. Definitely the more creativity that you put into it, the more seamless it is. If you take it very literally, you have to kind of be able to draw well to pull it off, I think, really well. But, you know, it's kind of similar to a paint over. But I know with Manga Studio, or Clip Studio, excuse me, they have those little models in there for people if they need sort of training wheels to, like, draw figures and different poses. But it can look like a model. That's the problem. And I know there's Daz. Those are more realistic, but they're also pretty spottable. In fact, I know comic book artists that use them and never say it, and I've seen it in their work forever. Like, I know what you're up to. I see it. Okay, I've got, my friend is going to be here in like 5 minutes, so I'm just going to reply to him really fast, and I should wrap this up. I did a small job for him, and he is coming by to pay me money, yo. So I'll do 2 more, and then I should go. That's cool. Some hoochie mamas. And that's really funny. Her face is hysterical. Sorry, you guys have a good Friday, 4/21. I don't know what that means, but go do whatever you should do on 4/21. And then Sunday, super fun Sunday. I don't know what Kelsey and I are going to do, but we'll do something fun. I'm going to talk to him on the phone. We never did end up syncing up yesterday. So we'll talk today, and we'll plan something for you all for Sunday. If you have any recommendations, let me know. The fact that you got to the end of this video shows that you're a YouTube champion of mine. So thank you for hanging in there. Hopefully this was fun. It was okay. The book wasn't as good as I remembered. I don't know if maybe going out of order sort of affected it a little bit, but there was a lot of files that weren't opening when I was trying to open them, which was kind of frustrating. This is like game. But that's pretty cool. But okay, I'm gonna split. You guys have an awesome day, and we'll see you Sunday live at 10 a.m. Pacific time, 1 p.m. East Coast. If you're in Europe, add more hours. All right, later.